Here is your General Hospital spoilers sneak peek video for Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Britt is still beside herself over what happened to Rocco and turns to Jason for help, but it looks like Jason will do almost anything for her, except what she is asking for. Of course, Jason wants to free Rocco and make sure Danny stays out of trouble. So what is Britt asking him to do? It's not like Jason to refuse Britt anything, so it must be something major. Meanwhile, Danny and Charlotte may be dooming their own lives when they decide to turn themselves in. Dante was almost as hard on Gio as he was last spring when he didn't even know Gio was his son. When he tells Lulu that Rocco would never have been in this mess. If it weren't for Gio, she wants him to go easier on the young man. Dante starts to realize that Rocco can make his own choice, and that is what he did. Laura and Sunny are also on top of the Rocco situation and are determined to do whatever they have to so that Rocco goes free. Both of them seem to have some sort of plan, but a lot also rides on the election results. Carly knows Rocco is in trouble, but what she doesn't know is that this all ties back to Jack's WSB case and Jocelyn's WSB mission. That doesn't mean she won't do anything to get Jocelyn out of this mess. As she plays Jack some more, he wonders if she can ever accept his lifestyle. Over at Windermere, Sidwell is playing his own games. He seems to be the mastermind behind all of this, but he is not happy with the mess Dalton has made. Sidwell tells Marco that if they eliminate someone, they eliminate their problems. Is Dalton about to find himself in more trouble than he ever imagined? He should have just left well enough alone with Rocco. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. Here are your General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. It's clear that Dalton somehow set up Rocco, and everyone knows it. Laura already threatened the professor, and Sunny is ready to go after him. What neither of them realizes is that Dalton has someone much more dangerous, also unhappy with him. Teasers say that Sidwell will be left fuming. Does that mean Marco gives him some news on how Sidwell is handling the lab break-in? Sidwell already warned him to let Rocco go, but Dalton refused. Sidwell tells Marco that if someone goes away, so will their problems. So does that someone mean Dalton? Thanks to Dalton, the cops will start looking at the lab, and that just won't do. Everyone is determined to make sure that Rocco goes free. Lulu worries that she'll have to throw one kid under the bus to save the other, but the kids decide to take matters into their own hands. Danny and Charlotte turn themselves in, while Lulu tells Dante that Rocco really did decide to break into the lab on his own. Will Dante start to see that he was a little too hard on Gio? Emma really told the high schoolers to call off the mission, but they refused to listen, and now everyone finds themselves in a major mess. Carly has no idea that Jocelyn's WSB work, Jack's latest big case, and Valentine's knowledge are all related to Rocco and his legal troubles. She is more concerned with saving her own daughter, and that means getting Valentine back to Port Charles. Carly puts on a good act for Jack once again, but things get serious, and Carly has to answer Jack's questions as well. Once again, he wants to know if she can accept who he is and that he sometimes has to keep secrets from her. Jack has no idea that Carly knows one of his biggest secrets, so what will she tell him? General Hospital spoilers tease that Harrison Chase is about to crack the alibi Michael Corinthos had with Jacinda Bracken for the night of Drew Kane's shooting. Still, the cop better watch his back since his friend has developed a new layer of darkness since returning to PC this past spring. It's undeniable that Rory Gibson has done a stellar job as the Michael Corinthos recast and presented a very different side of the character fans haven't seen before. When it comes to this Drew shooting storyline, Michael seems to know more than he's telling everyone and has been quite methodical with his moves. Michael returned to town in May after rehabilitation for his burns incurred during the firebombing incident at his father, Sonny Corinthos' penthouse, and has been different. He fought for his life after catching fire, while his marriage was exploding, and being away from his kids transformed Michael into a new character, one that is fiercely protective of his children and willing to do just about anything to keep them safe and firmly in his orbit. Chase seems adamant that Michael is Drew's shooter, and that Willow Tate is innocent and is willing to cross a line or two to prove so. Chase will somehow obtain evidence that Jacinda, who is currently Michael's alibi, was not with Michael during the time of Drew's shooting. There's been talk about Jacinda being with another client during that period, and all arrows are pointing to City Councilman Urza Boyle being the culprit. With that said, Chase seems quite cocky during the GH preview for the week of November 17 to 21, when he relays to someone unknown, likely Alexis Davis, that Michael gave the police a false alibi, and I can prove it. Chase may see this as great news, as he doesn't want to see Willow rot in prison for a crime she didn't commit. But in doing so, he'll earn an enemy in Michael. Blowing Michael's alibi out of the water doesn't necessarily prove that he shot Drew, but it could place Michael's full custody of Wiley Corinthos and Amelia Corinthos in jeopardy. There's no way Michael will allow this betrayal from Chase to pass. Chase isn't conducting this investigation for the PCPD, and in many ways, snooping the way he has could cost him his badge. Michael has the money and power to strike hard against Chase in ways the cop can't even fathom. There's no doubt that Michael will take aim at Chase's job, and he could use Aurora Media as a way to strike. Chase is also Michael's cousin's hubby, so Michael could also create massive waves in his marriage to Brooklyn Quartermain and potentially destroy it. The two are super close, and there's a chance that Michael will use this as a way to get back at Chase. General Hospital spoilers suggest that things are bound to get ugly in the Q mansion, so fans will have to continue to tune into the ABC soap to see how badly Michael will retaliate against Chase once he finds out what his cop friend has done. General Hospital spoilers hint that Michael Corinthos and Jacinda Bracken could face a double arrest over their false alibi. Will Jacinda and Michael pay the price for lying to the cops? Although Jacinda and Michael are committed to the story that they were together all night, that's not how the evening of Drew Cain's shooting actually went down. Michael is counting on no one being able to prove otherwise, but Chase will indeed score proof of Michael and Jacinda's joint alibi deception. It looks like Chase will have evidence that Jacinda was with another client, so chances are good it'll be Ezra Boyle. If Chase is right, and this evidence becomes part of the case, what does that mean for Michael and Jacinda? Alexis has been hoping to present multiple suspects in court and take some heat off Willow Tate. Chase's proof could certainly help out with that strategy. If the trial moves forward, Drew is counting on Michael to go down for shooting him once Willow's acquitted. However, we should think about the other potential charges that Michael and Jacinda might face in the meantime. Jacinda and Michael lied to the cops so they could get arrested for providing false statements. Michael and Jacinda might face consequences for obstruction of justice as well, so they could easily get dragged off to the PCPD in handcuffs at some point. Drew would absolutely love to see that, especially if it makes a big fuss in the news and gets the public thinking Michael's guilty of shooting him too. Chase wants to do everything he can to steer attention away from Willow, so he may make sure Michael and Jacinda get hauled down to the station. Jacinda and Michael's botched alibi situation may bring disastrous consequences soon enough. General Hospital spoilers say Michael and Jacinda may have some legal predicaments ahead of them, so stick with us for updates on all the twists and turns of this investigation. General Hospital is setting the stage for Portia to take a dip in hot water as the newly minted prime suspect in Drew's shooting. But as much as she hates Congressman Cutthroat, we don't buy that she would have done it, not even to get out from under his blackmail threat. But if Portia didn't pull the trigger, who did? Heaven knows there's no shortage of Port Charles denizens who had motive. The question is, which of them would actually be so blinded by rage that they'd take aim and fire? Our hunch. Even though Willow is now out of prison on bail, she's actually the guilty party. Remember, when Drew was gunned down, she was mentally a hot mess. She'd even stalked baby Daisy to give ex-husband Michael a scare. To put it mildly, Willow was not well. So we suspect that Drew's sometime fiancé actually stole into his house and shot him as payback for keeping from her his affair with her mother, for mucking up her chances of getting her kids back, for generally being a dark cloud over her life, and then she blocked out the fact that she did it. So when she protests that she's innocent, she means it, insofar as she can remember. As the investigation goes on, maybe General Hospital can pull John Lindstrom away from Beyond the Gates, where he's killing it as bad guy Joey, so that Kevin can hypnotize Willow and bring to light what really happened that fateful night. Who do you think took aim at Drew? Answer in the poll below. General Hospital spoilers imply that fans have been waiting for months now to find out who shot Drew Kane. So could the ABC soap finally reveal that it's Ezra Boyle? The city councilman first debuted in March of this year, but hasn't been seen on canvas in weeks until recently. Sure, most of the reasons behind this are because his main storyline centers on the mayoral campaign race, and that's wrapping up this week. However, it's hard not to shake that, among all the main suspects within Drew's shooting, GH has never pointed any speculation toward Laura Collins's mayoral opponent. As any avid soap opera fan knows, the culprit behind any whodunit storyline is the person viewers least suspect. It's not so much that Ezra isn't capable of murder, it's just that he and Drew are friends and allies. Drew is hoping that Ezra becomes the next mayor of Port Charles so they can work hand in hand to wreak havoc in the little town and ensure to bring down Sonny Corinthos. They are also aligned with Gen Z, Sidwell, and the entire team has diabolical plans for Sonny's peers. Their first order of business is to get Laura booted out of the mayor's office and Ezra inserted into it. To thicken the plot, there has been speculation that local escort Jacinda Bracken, who also happens to be Michael Corinthos' alibi for Drew's shooting, was with another client during the time the cutthroat congressman was shot. All arrows are pointing to Ezra being Jacinda's customer, and General Hospital spoilers note that Harrison Chase will score proof of this at some point this week. This will blow Michael's alibi out of the water, and while Ezra may pretend to be mortified about this information surfacing, especially if it pops up right before the election, could this have been part of his master plan all along? What if Ezra was the one who shot at Drew? Ezra may have done so for whatever motive, even if he was instructed by Sidwell, as there was one point the terrorist believed Drew to be a liability. Then again, maybe Ezra was tired of Drew's drama and wanted him out of the equation. Regardless, Ezra may have organized everything perfectly should the PCPD ever suspect it was him. So, he shot Drew, then quickly and cleverly called Jacinda to his hotel room, so he'd have her as his alibi. General Hospital spoilers remind fans that November Sweeps is all about shocking secrets being revealed, so there's a good chance that fans learn that Ezra is Drew's shooter, but everyone else is still in the dark, with the cherry on top of this nightmare being that he becomes the new Port Charles mayor too. When General Hospital's Danny walks into the PCPD and confesses to the lab mess, which we know he and Charlotte will do from the teaser, Drew's going to come down on him harder than he ever has. And while everyone braces for the fallout, Cameron Matheson slid something very different into the conversation this week. A reminder that the real battles often happen where nobody can see them. He started talking about mental health, reaching out, and the Not Alone challenge. General Hospital's Cameron Matheson put it plainly in his Instagram post, writing, "The Not Alone challenge is about shining light on what so many people feel but rarely speak about. The silent weight of anxiety, the heaviness of depression, so many other mental health challenges, and mostly the fear of reaching out, and the simple truth that you are not alone in this. It's about knowing there are tools, resources, and community ready to meet you when the inner world gets overwhelming, and about breaking the isolation that so often keeps us stuck." He continued by stating that a fan named Kelly Gores offered the Not Alone challenge to him, and he accepted. He continued with, "I'm passing it on by nominating my daughter Layla Matheson and my friend Maurice Bernard. If you've ever felt lost or isolated, remember, you don't have to navigate this alone. Reach out, speak, connect." In the accompanying video, the General Hospital actor doubled down on the message. "I accept your Not Alone challenge. The Not Alone challenge is a beautiful initiative, letting people know that they are not alone in their mental health challenges." He noted that his fans know he's an advocate of physical fitness and longevity, and added, "But you have nothing if you don't have your mental health. There's a million different things that we can do to help. I'm super grateful to be involved, and I'm going to be nominating my daughter Layla and Maurice Bernard from General Hospital." It landed with a clarity that cut through the noise, the kind of thing you feel in your chest because somebody finally said it out loud. By the time the comments section filled up, it wasn't just support. It was testimony, Kelly Gores chimed in with, "You are the best!" And at DyneMB1 offered, "It is great that you want to be the best you can be, as well as wanting others to be the best they can be." And at tpatrick60 shared, "The key to the isolation of mental health issues is community." And then came the one that lingered long after the others. At Droneboit said, "I'm going through some pretty rough times right now. Hearing this really makes me feel better knowing I'm not alone." Soap fans have been watching General Hospital star Kate Mansi in front of the cameras since she first landed the role of Abigail Devereaux on Days of Our Lives in 2011. She played the role on and off until 2020, and in 2023, she became the new Christina Davis Corinthos. Now, Mansi is stepping behind the camera at GH, doing something a little bit different. Mansi took to Instagram on Sunday with some major professional news. She recently directed an episode of General Hospital that will air on Tuesday, November 18th. In the shared video, Mansi can be seen stepping into the building that is home to the Directors Guild of America. Alongside the video, she wrote, "The high of doing something you'd always dreamed of doing." Mansi is not slated to appear on tomorrow's episode, but some of the actors who are chimed in, including Rick Hurst, who commented, "Can't wait to see. Of course you got my best side, right?" Chris McKenna, who appears as Jack Brennan on the 18th, offered some positive emojis, while Kristen Vaganos chimed in with, "Queen of the World." Mansi has had quite a momentous year, as she got married last summer during a surprise wedding. Well, at least a surprise to her guests who thought they were attending a pre-wedding celebration that turned into the real deal. The only two co-stars who knew were Vaganos and Giovanni Mazza, who played the violin for the ceremony. On screen, Mansi's Christina seems to have come full circle after a moment of insanity led her to cut the brakes on what she thought was Ava's car, leading to an accident that nearly killed Rick and Elizabeth. She eventually made amends with Ava after the two women, along with Christina's mother, Alexis, locked Rick in Ava's basement for a month, cuffed to a gurney with a ball gag in his mouth. Christina seems to be free of her many troubles now, which has apparently left Mansi with time to fulfill a dream and direct. Mansi is not the only soap actress to sit in the director's chair at their soap. Alison Sweeney began directing Days episodes in 2011. Over at CBS, Heather Tom occasionally directs episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful, including this year's Thanksgiving show. General Hospital spoilers imply that Jens Sidwell could have PCU professor Henry Hank Dalton murdered, and there's a good chance that Laura Collins will face the repercussions for this. The week of November 17, 2021 will be both dramatic and chaotic. With so many moving pieces within several arcs that are interconnected, it's hard not to think that Dalton's days are numbered in the land of Port Charles. Plus, it's November sweeps, and the ABC soap loves to provide shocking moments, like a murder. In addition, Dalton is an expendable character, so there's a good chance that he will be a goner by the time the weekend hits. Dalton is foaming at the mouth for Rocco Falconeri to pay for breaking into his lab. The teen was set to get a slap on the wrist, but the PCU professor presented evidence that Rocco ransacked his lab to ensure he'd get a stricter penalty, despite Sidwell's warning to back off. During the Friday, November 14th episode, when this new evidence popped up, Laura Collins knew right away that her grandson was being framed, and she was outraged. GH previews for Monday, November 17th indicate that Laura will lash out at Dalton while press and media are there, flashing their cameras to get every word she says on the record. There's a fierce mayoral election campaign happening in PC right now, as Laura hopes to get re-elected. Nipping at her heels is Slimeball City Councilman Ezra Boyle, who is likely celebrating all this scandal in the mayor's life. Laura went from a huge lead in the campaign to a very narrow margin, so one more controversy could tip her over, and she could lose her role as Port Charles mayor. Fast forward to the week of November 17th, and Sidwell will issue a warning to someone that's betrayed him. Sidwell isn't one to mess around, and as Dalton has not only lagged with his research for Cesar Faison's final project, but was also resistant to Britt Westbourne taking the lead, he's officially become a thorn in Sidwell's side. Framing Rocco will be the tip of the iceberg, as Sidwell instructed Dalton to leave it alone, so Sidwell will likely do away with him. Still, As Laura is also a problem for Sidwell, who desperately wants to snag Sonny Corinthos' peers and district, he may come up with a plan to kill two birds with one stone. Sidwell would love nothing more than to have Ezra as the little town's mayor, as the counselor is on his payroll. Laura is slated to publicly lash out at Dalton, which will create a perfect storm for the mayor to get booted out of her role, while also allowing Sidwell to eliminate a liability within his operation, Dalton. General Hospital's preview for the week of November 17th to 21 shows Laura screeching in horror with car keys in hand. It's dark out, so it's nighttime, and it appears that she'll likely hit something, get out of the car, and discover something, or someone, she's run over. The election takes place midweek, so this offers Sidwell a unique opportunity to get rid of Dalton, while pinning it as hit and run on Laura's part. This scenario could be the very situation that finally tips the scales in Ezra's favor and costs Laura the election. Sidwell is a master manipulator, so he could set something up where Laura hits an already deceased Dalton, where it seems like she's the one who caused the PCU professor's demise. General Hospital spoilers hint that Ezra winning the election will score a major point for Team Sidwell, as the baddies of the little town continue to try and wreak havoc for the heroes. So fans will need to stay glued to their screens to see what happens next within this storyline. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, November 18th reveal that Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine will confess to the cops while Jason Morgan rejects Britt's plea and Jen Sidwell forms a fatal plan. First, Jason will have to apologize to Britt when he's forced to turn down her request. After Jason admits he'd do anything except this one thing for Britt, she'll have to accept where things stand. Britt may be hoping Jason will convince Danny to come forward and help Rocco Falconeri, but Jason may think Danny needs to keep his hands clean. Of course, Lulu Spencer has already been contemplating the idea of getting Danny and Charlotte to turn themselves in for Rocco's sake, but she's worried it would mean sacrificing her daughter to save her son. Regardless, Danny and Charlotte will indeed turn themselves in at the PCPD in Tuesday's GH episode, so they'll do whatever they can to back up Rocco's version of events. During a conversation with Dante Falconeri, he'll try to put the blame on Giovanni Gio Palmieri now that Gio's made a confession. However, Lulu will think Rocco bears some responsibility here, so Dante will wonder if she's saying their son did this to himself. Lulu may argue that Professor Henry Hank Dalton is the real issue here since he's framing Rocco for far worse crimes than he committed. Sidwell will think Dalton is the issue as well, and will apparently suggest to Marco Rios that if Dalton goes away, then so to their problems. GH fans will see Sidwell's temper flare over Dalton's actions, so he may hint to Marco that the professor needs to meet a grim fate right away. Britt will also hand down an ultimatum on Tuesday's show, so that might involve her conversation with Jason, or perhaps a different one with Sidwell. If Britt pushes Sidwell to eliminate Dalton or risk losing her on the project, that could give him another motive to wipe the professor off the map. Over with Sonny Corinthos, he'll tell Laura Collins that they should hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Laura indeed has some worse days ahead of her since it looks like she'll get tangled up in Sidwell's fatal plot for Dalton soon enough. In the meantime, Jack Brennan will quiz an emotional Carly Spencer, so that may involve what she knows about the lab break-in. Brennan might also get a bit suspicious of Carly's behavior lately, but she'll tearfully insist that she accepts him for who he is. Naturally, Carly will really mean that she's accepted Brennan as a liar who put Jocelyn Jacks in jeopardy. But Brennan may think her acceptance of him is a good thing at this point. General Hospital spoilers say Carly will keep playing a dangerous game with Brennan, so stick with us for more updates on all her tricks. On the Monday, November 17th episode of General Hospital, several Port Charles residents grew suspicious of Portia. Dante blasted Gio for his involvement in the lab break-in, and Laura slapped Dalton on election night in front of voters. Curtis dropped by Portia's office and asked for an update about her pregnancy checkup. She said things were on track for the pregnancy, and although he was excited, she needed him to respect the risks of the pregnancy. Portia asked to take her time before they started shouting it from the rooftops. He said that wouldn't be the case, though, because someone already knew. She asked if it was Trina, but he revealed it was his Aunt Stella. Portia asked if Stella had an opinion about the pregnancy, but her real issue was with the divorce. Portia asked if Curtis planned to suggest they remain together for the baby's sake, and she dropped a bomb that she had witnessed him and Jordan kissing. He apologized for kissing her, but she knew he'd always end up back with his ex-wife. Curtis knew they weren't a good couple, but they were great parents, and he wanted the same for their unborn child. She thanked him for the heads-up that Stella was determined to keep them bound by the law of marriage. Kai raced to Ava's gallery and found a distraught Trina who wanted to confess to her parents that they were at Drew's the night he was shot. He questioned why she'd suddenly want to tell her parents, but she explained how Jordan was chasing after her father. He apologized for what she was going through, but Trina said Drew caused the strain in her parents' marriage, and if she revealed the truth, Jordan would be shut out. She hoped that burning the evidence would give them breathing room to reunite. Kai assumed that Portia and Curtis probably knew that Drew didn't maintain any leverage over them. Trina played along, and if it were true, she wondered why they'd keep quiet. Kai pitched a theory that Portia may be the one responsible for putting a bullet into Drew. Trina started to buy into the theory, and she needed to sit down to process the idea that her mother nearly murdered a sitting congressman. Britt grabbed Emma by the arm at GH and demanded that they get something straight. Gio offered to stick by her ride, but Emma was content dealing with Britt on her own. Britt accused Emma of coercing Rocco into breaking into the lab. She told Emma to stay away from Dalton's lab, but clearly she knew what happened, and Britt was incensed that Rocco suffered these consequences because of her. Emma admitted that she had roped Rocco into the chaos, but she deflected the blame, stating that she hadn't dragged him. Britt had a sudden suspicion that Rocco's interest in her was a ploy to gain access to Dalton's office. Emma confessed that it was her idea to get Rocco to steal the key fob. Despite her feelings about Britt, Rocco had genuine interactions with her. Emma told Britt that she told Rocco to inform his own opinion. Emma stormed away, and Britt demanded that she have the confidence to come at her herself, instead of bringing Rocco into the fold. Emma apologized for bringing Rocco in, but Britt told her that not everything gets cleaned up with an apology. Some mistakes you just have to live with. A frantic Dante arrived at GH and was met by Brooklyn, who requested an update on Rocco's court hearing. Dante explained that Rocco was unfairly taken away in handcuffs to juvie. He was horrified to watch Rocco cry out for help as he was hauled away to jail. Gio overheard his parents discussing how Rocco was such a good kid, and they couldn't understand why he had broken into Dalton's lab. Gio came around the corner and confessed to his mom and dad that he was the reason why Rocco committed the act. Brooklyn attempted to downplay things, but he said they needed to hear his account of the lab break-in. Gio explained how Emma's group on campus wanted to expose Dalton, and he and Emma recruited Danny, Charlotte, and Rocco to aid in the cause. Gio explained that the plan was for him and Emma to break into the lab, and the three kids were never meant to get that deeply involved. Gio told Dante and Brooklyn that they tried to call off the entire scheme, but Rocco went forward with it. Dante wouldn't hear Gio out, and Brooklyn tried to step in to defuse the situation. Emma walked in on the conversation between Gio and his parents, and she immediately came to his defense. After Emma confessed, Dante accused him of screwing over his little brother to impress his girlfriend. Elizabeth asked Laura at the polls how things went with Rocco, and she replied, "Horribly wrong." Nathan showed up not too long after, and he explained that he had set Rocco up at the detention center with his own room. He would remain isolated there, so nobody would know who his family was. Rocco was nervous at the beginning, and Laura blamed everything on Dalton. Laura recalled how Dalton never disclosed anything about the destruction of the lab, and she believed her grandson. Elizabeth assured Laura that the PCPD would work to exonerate Rocco. The last thing on Laura's mind was the election's outcome, but she had a civic duty to fulfill. Dalton showed up at the polls and confronted Laura about Rocco's arrest. He made a comment about Rocco and Sonny being able to compare prison stories moving forward, and he declared himself a victim. Laura screamed at the polls that he was a liar. Several voters surrounded Laura and Dalton during their face-off, with their cameras out to record the entire thing. Laura believed that he unfairly targeted Rocco. However, Dalton accused her of misusing her position as mayor to target him. She blamed Dalton for destroying his own lab on some sort of power trip, and she vowed to fight him with every resource that she had. Laura slapped Dalton, and she declared that he was trying to frame Rocco for a crime he did not commit, which wouldn't end well for him. Lulu ranted to Carly about Rocco being carted off to jail at the arraignment. She recounted some of the felonies Rocco faced, despite Rocco's denial of destroying anything in the lab. Carly urged Lulu to do whatever she could to protect Rocco from the dangers of prison. Lulu couldn't disprove that Dalton's proof was false unless she exposed Danny and Charlotte's connection to the crime. There was a chance they could help get the charges dropped, or they could all end up facing the same felony charges. Rick assured Sonny there was a deal on the table with Turner, and Sonny yelled across the courtroom and asked Turner, "Why did you double-cross my grandson?" Sonny accused her of ambushing Rocco with falsified evidence. She confirmed the new evidence came into her possession right before the hearing, so there was no time to alter the deal. Turner vowed that the state wouldn't oppose bail, but Rick wasn't so sure. Rick accused her of doing whatever it took to make a big splash, and he promised Sonny that the fight wasn't over. Once Sonny and Turner were alone, Sonny floated the idea that Dalton had set Rocco up and duped her. He asked her to investigate Dalton's claims, but Sonny believed Rocco, who had no reason to lie. She asked him to consider the idea that his grandson was lying, and questioned how confident he was in his assertions. He reflected on Rocco's character, and Turner admitted she was satisfied with the original deal, but she couldn't ignore Dalton's new evidence. Sonny believed Dalton was hiding something, so he destroyed his own lab. However, Turner defended herself, claiming she was just doing her job. Alexis and Felicia discussed Portia's missing alibi from the night of the shooting. However, Alexis needed to find the means for Portia to remove Edward's gun from the Quartermain mansion. Once Felicia revealed that Portia visited Monica several times before the shooting, Alexis focused on a possible motive she would have had for shooting him. Felicia found it bizarre that Portia would be on a suspect list for the shooting at all. However, they were aware of a conflict between them, but remained unaware of its root cause. Alexis believed that law enforcement rushed to judgment when they focused on Willow. Despite wanting to shift focus away from her client, she wasn't necessarily trying to pin the crime on Portia. Rick interrupted, and he requested to speak with Alexis about Rocco. She asked Felicia to pick things back up at a later date, and Alexis was surprised the rumors were true about Rick representing his great-nephew. He pitched the idea of him and Alexis reaching peace, just as he and Sonny had. Rick requested that Danny and Charlotte come forward to help Rocco take less of the punishment. Alexis declined to get her grandson to come forward and take the blame, despite Rick's assertion that he'd protect him. Rick promised he had a great strategy in mind if she were willing to hear him out. But when she declined, he offered her something else. Rick floated Portia's name as a potential suspect in the shooting, and he offered her several options as to why she had a motive. Election shockwaves hit Port Charles. Alexis and Jason scramble to save the teens, and Emma reaches her breaking point. The General Hospital spoilers for Wednesday, November 19th focus on the election results, so we'll find out about Measure C, and we'll also find out whether Laura's showdown with Dalton had an impact on her chances of re-election. In other news, Alexis briefs Jason. According to the weekly GH spoilers, the election results are in, so we will finally determine the pulse of the people of Port Charles. We will find out where they stand on the Measure C mandate. Sonny may have to give up his waterfront property, which will leave Sidwell an opening to take it for himself and his own nefarious purposes. And it's time to learn whether PC residents have fallen for Drew, Ezra Boyle, and Sidwell's campaign tactics. They relentlessly tried to play up Laura and Sonny's friendship and connection as Rocco's grandparents. They are trying to get her out of the office so they can further have the run of the town. So will Laura lose her re-election bid? Will Ezra Boyle be Port Charles's next mayor? Rocco, Danny, and Charlotte's lives are a freaking mess. They made the choice to break into Dalton's lab, and everything has gone chaotic ever since. Dalton framed Rocco, which resulted in serious charges being leveled against the teen. He's currently sitting in juvie awaiting his bail hearing, and it has left Danny and Charlotte feeling guilty over Rocco's sacrifice. The adults in their lives have mobilized and are undoubtedly trying to figure out how to get them out of this situation with minimal damage to their lives. This must be why Alexis is suddenly briefing Jason. This is a delicate matter, and they are lucky to have Alexis fighting for them. Can Alexis and Jason devise the perfect plan to get everybody off the hook? Emma is another person in this Rocco mess who is feeling guilty. Bringing down Dalton was her primary purpose for going to PCU, and she spearheaded this whole mission, even though she had also called it off due to unforeseen circumstances. On Wednesday, the teasers suggest that Emma is outraged. Is this fury directed at Dalton for being every bit of the bad guy she thought? Perhaps she is mad at Dante for the way he yelled at Gio. Or this could be about Emma being mad at herself for her part in everything going so wrong. What sparks Emma's extreme reaction? Meanwhile, look for Nathan to provide an ear for Lulu. After all, she is scared for her son and doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. Nathan is back on the force, and he can let Lulu know if Rocco is okay. He had already ensured that her son's stay in juvie would go as smoothly as possible. In other news, Vaughn summons Joss. The two haven't had much FaceTime since they returned from their Five Poppies mission. The purpose of this sudden meeting could be related to Joss's new agenda: to get close to Lucas, who is moving in with Marco at Windermere, also known as Sidwell territory. Laura reminded us all why she's the Queen of Port Charles. In the process of giving Dalton what he deserved, Laura made things so much worse for herself and her career on General Hospital. Now, GH fans are reacting to this veteran character's iconic slap. During the November 17th episode of GH, Election Day in Port Charles took a turn when Dalton began taunting the mayoral candidate about her grandson supposedly trashing his lab. The two let tempers fly right in front of the people of Port Charles at the polling place, and when Laura demanded the professor's attention, she slapped him across the face in a room full of witnesses recording on their phones. The slap may have just destroyed any chance Laura had at remaining mayor, but it was something Dalton certainly deserved, and GH fans across X agree. If I saw Laura slap weirdo professor, I would not only vote for her, I would make sure my whole family did too, one fan admitted. While another wrote, Hurricane Laura is activated. Another fan joked, Laura slapped the shit out of her son Kane from Y&R, referring to Frances playing Goddard's mother on The Young and the Restless. Amidst all the slapping gifs, including this epic one of Laura slapping Dalton, several fans wondered what this meant for Laura's campaign. It was badass of Laura to put Dalton in his place, but at the same time, it might cost her election and her freedom, one said, while another theorized, is Dalton going after Laura so that she'll lose the election because he knows that's what Sidwell wants, or because he's just irrational? The election results may be the least of Laura's problems, as General Hospital spoilers for November 18th tease a fuming Sidwell. He's not very happy about how things turned out for Rocco, and odds are Dalton will be in for much worse from him than what Laura gave him. Maurice Bernard and Jeannie Francis have come to a conclusion that General Hospital don't do couples anymore, and fans have noticed this shift as well. General Hospital stars Maurice Bernard and Jeannie Francis wondered where the love had gone in Port Charles in their recent State of Mind podcast discussion. Lately, much of the focus has been on political scandals, family drama, and crimes. The actors aren't the only ones who feel this way. Soap fans in general want a return to love in the afternoon. On Sunday, November 16th, Francis joined Bernard on his State of Mind podcast. They recently remembered their late co-stars, Tristan Rogers, Tyler Christopher, and more. The two also noticed a glaring problem with the show. Currently, there are no romantic storylines. Bernard noticed that the powers that be don't do couples anymore. Francis agreed, noting, they don't. Bernard recalled GH's heyday in the early 90s, when there were power couples like Luke and Laura, Lois and Ned, and Sunny and Brenda. He noted, couples were a thing. He noticed they haven't focused on many romantic storylines. Do you think the pandemic changed it because of intimacy? Francis asked. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it could be true. I truly believe, look, I don't question anybody how they're doing their jobs, but they should get back to couples, Bernard said. He claimed that it helps soaps. Francis couldn't agree anymore. They're not the only ones who feel this way. Soap fans in general have wondered where the love has gone. Fans across all soaps want more love in the afternoon. GH fans on a soap opera message board shared that while they've been enjoying the show lately, it has been losing steam in some areas. Fans shared what the soap lacks, and most agree that it's romance. One person wrote, "This show is missing young adult romances." Someone else asked, "How about love, family, friendship embedded in the drama of the big arc?" Meanwhile, the young and the restless fans on another thread asked, "Where's the love?" The original poster argued, "I like soaps for a little romance, glamour, love. I feel that the writers have no clue about what makes a romance." Someone else agreed, writing, "There's too much focus on business and darkness, but there are couples in love. They just don't get a lot of attention." Unfortunately, that's what happens on most soaps. Most stable, happy couples often get pushed to the back burner, but fans can look forward to Cricket and Danny's upcoming nuptials. Y&R fans helped pick Cricket's wedding dress. The Bold and the Beautiful has been reuniting classic couples such as Beatty and Bridge. However, fans feel the storylines have been lacking romance. Over on that thread, the original poster wrote, "Is it just me, or in the past month or so, 3 couples have reunited? Each one of their reunions fell short of a romantic feel for me." Other fans agreed, noting there's a lack of emotion and intimacy. The overarching theme is that these storylines didn't have a slow-burning romance. They just get back together immediately. Scarlett Spears sparkles on the Wicked for Good red carpet and celebrates her dream role. Last night, General Hospital's Scarlett Spears, who plays Sunny and Carly's daughter, Donna, made a huge splash on the red carpet at the New York premiere for her new movie, which you may have heard of, Wicked for Good. She posed for the paparazzi alongside Glinda herself, Ariana Grande, and the rest of the cast. Plus, she did interviews with media outlets in attendance. Spears, who plays young Glinda in the second part of the Wicked saga, had the time of her young life. The 8-year-old appears in Wicked for Good, which hits theaters on Friday, November 21st. It's the highly anticipated follow-up to 2024's Wicked. Spears' family Instagram account featured photos and videos straight from the red carpet. The post's very first image is of Grande and Spears posing together. Spears' mom, who runs the account, included a message expressing their excitement over this game-changing and life-changing experience. "She has been changed, for good. Thank you, @JohnChu, Ariana Grande, for changing this little girl's life. We are so proud of this film, and so grateful Scarlett will forever be a part of this. Prayers work and dreams come true. More to come. Thankful, #grateful, #blessed, #young, Glinda, #Scarlett Spears." The young actress, dressed in a sparkly pink dress and furry coat, had a fun chat with E! Entertainment. She taught E! News' Justin Sylvester the right ways to toss her hair. Sylvester was impressed. The GH actress also spoke to Access Hollywood. She first told correspondent Trisha Paytas about what Glinda means to her. When asked about meeting Ariana Grande, Spears admitted that she loved getting to meet her, and they spent a lot of time together on the set of Wicked for Good. She calls the experience a dream come true. In addition, in an E! interview with Ethan Slater, who plays Bach in the Wicked movies, he got to tell Spears exactly what he thinks about her performance in the buzzworthy second installment. "You're so unbelievably good in this movie, and I can't wait for people to see it. It's really so sweet," Slater praised. The Wicked movies are based on the 2003 Broadway musical, an adaptation of the novel. It is set in the Land of Oz and tells the tale of Galinda and Elphaba, aka the future Glinda the Good Witch and Wicked Witch of the West. It explores the relationship between the two unlikely friends who change each other's lives. Spears plays the young version of Grande's Glinda. While Spears continues to make appearances on GH, the actress is also busy taking on projects outside of the ABC soap. She told Access Hollywood that she has 2 more films in the pipeline, so fans will continue to be able to see her on the big and small screens. Emma and Britt faced off on GH. The fallout of Rocco's arrest was in full swing as General Hospital kicked off this week. Britt, for one, took Emma to task for the part she played in the ordeal, and fans are divided on it. From the second Britt grabbed Emma at the hospital, GH fans knew they were in for some good drama. The history between Emma and Britt is beyond tense, largely due to the latter's brief and complicated relationship with Patrick. Listening to the Britch lecture Emma for involving Rocco in her scheme to expose Dalton was hypocrisy at its best. The scene was pure entertainment to watch, because GH fans know everything Britt has done, so she's the last person to lecture anyone about right and wrong. Although Britt had every right to be mad, especially since she feels that Rocco used her and Emma certainly deserved to be put through the ringer, Britt, of all people, should not have been the one to do it. X was on fire with fans speaking out after the scenes that saw Brunner and Thibaud killing it, which was the one thing fans could agree on, with a fan saying, #GH, great scenes today with Britt and Emma. Kelly and Brayden work beautifully together. Unpopular opinion, I am on Britt's side with this one. This is all Emma's fault, read an X. Another fan expressed, Britt is in the right here. This is on Emma and Gio. They involved the triplets in their mess, and now one of them will have to pay for it. I'm not a fan of Britt, but she was right to put Emma in her place and hold her responsible for the serious consequences for her behavior. Plus, dragging Danny, Charlotte, and Rocco into her delusions was bad, even if Rocco made the decision alone, declared a different fan. One fan spilled, seeing Britt try to chastise Emma for using a child is so funny when Britt used that same child for her schemes. You're too scared to go after me yourself, so you use a child to do it? McDrop! But Britt, you kind of did the same thing when you were pregnant with that child, wrote another fan. There was a fan who insisted, this is not Britt's lesson to teach. She may be right, but she sounds hypercritical. AF would have rather had Anna or Felicia be the one to talk to Emma. It's a good point, and it also brings up the fact that despite the drama surrounding her granddaughter, no one questions the fact that Anna just up and left Port Charles to return to the WSB. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.